Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, at this time, we would like to welcome the Calgary Korean Art Club here to do a special performance in recognition of the upcoming 2018 Olympic Winter Games taking place in Pyeongchang, South Korea. This performance was historically used in opening events for royalty and has evolved to be the opening for any event to provide best wishes and luck to all of the people in attendance. sir. How's my volume? Test 1, 2. Thank you very much to the Calgary Korean Art Club for their special performance. At this time, hello, test 1, 2. John, you hear me over the PA? Can you hear me over the PA at all?
I hear nothing right now.
PA is not working here. Hold on. Yeah, I'll just go turn it up.
You're doing a little blur.
I'm doing the little, well, I'm trying to, but I gotta do the console.
Yeah. Do you want me to do it?
Do it all right.
Oh, right now? Okay. Oh, great. Okay. Hey guys. Hey guys, can you stand in front of the theater here? Okay. And Cindy, can you come? Can you guys kind of stand here? Okay, Cindy, come here on this side. Okay. That was really loud, sorry. At this time, we would like to welcome Cindy Clausen, 5-time Olympic medalist and Olympic Oval Hall of Champion inductee. She will be presenting the podium for the 2018 long track team selections and men's 5,000 meter Canadian single distance champions. No? Okay. Winning the bronze medal with a time of 6:22.90 is Jordan Belchos.
As we have a look at our podium for this afternoon's Canadian Championship.
Winning the silver medal with a time of 6:21.08, Danny Morrison.
The bronze medal went to Jordan Belchos with a time of 6:22.90. The silver medal to Denny Morrison, 6:21.08. And at the top of the podium, our gold medalist with a time of 6:16.36, Ted Jan Blumen. He manages to make sure the podium stays in place and he doesn't fall over backwards. As we have a look at the podium for the men's 5,000 meter Canadian single distance championships. Ted Jan Blumen, Denny Morrison, and Jordan Belchos. Medals were presented by 5-time Olympic medalist and Olympic Oval Hall of Champions inductee, Cindy Clausen. Stay tuned for an interview with gold medalist Ted Jan Blumen.
Test 1, 2, test 1, 2. Test 1, 2, test 1, 2. Test 1, 2, test 1, 2, test 1, 2, 3, 4, test 1, 2, test 1, 2, test 1, 2, test 1, 2. Say again?
Just a bit more.
Test 1, 2, test 1, 2, test 1, 2, test 1, 2, interview, 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 test 1, 2.
Go down more.
Going down 9, test 1, 2, 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 going down. Test 1, 2, test 1, 2, test 1, 2, check your volume check on wireless. Test 1, 2, audio test, test 1, 2, test 1.
Welcome back inside Calgary's Olympic Oval for the start of the 3,000 meter Women's Canadian Single Distance Championships and long track team selections. Now, Leo, 5 pairs, and the first one up is a woman skating by herself. But what are we sort of looking for in terms of the names and the faces that you might want to see at the end of the day?
So the athlete to beat, the one with the target on her back, will be Evanie Blondet, skater from Ottawa, who has won World Cup medals in this distance in the past. She's also a favorite in a number of distances, the 5,000 meter and the mass start event. So expect her to be strong. Other names to look out for: Josie Morrison, Isabel Weidman, Brienne Tutt, and Victoria Spence.
So it's a pretty deep field for only 5 pairs, and one of them, as we mentioned, being a skater by herself. That one's going to be Lindsay Kent getting underway in just a few moments. She'll line up on her own in this women's 3,000 meters. There is the whistle. Sounds like we are just about get ready to go as Kent is called to the line. Kent, 21 years old, out of Winnipeg. In this distance in the fall trials, the selection trials, she finished 9th at 4:22.81, personal best time 4:17.77. She is off to a clean start. Lindsay Kent, she came to the sport after watching the 2010 Olympics, former ringette player, and now here she is skating for a national championship, getting things underway. Now, Leo, we saw earlier on in the men's 5,000 meters, a skater by himself not do too bad of a job. So again, when someone's skating on their own at this kind of distance, what are they focusing on when they're by themselves?
Skaters, whether they're by themselves or with a pair, will be focusing on making each stride count. Skaters are looking for technical perfection with every stride, not making any mistakes, getting the maximum amount of pressure out of each push. As Lindsay Kent comes around here, she's chasing a personal best, as we mentioned earlier, of 4:17.77. That's an average lap time of 33.8.
She's under it early on. Still a long way to go. Kent, a 4th place finisher at the Canada Games in 2015 in this distance. That was again in Fort St. John during the Prince George Canada Games.
The 3,000 meter is much like the men's 5,000 meter in that it is a long distance race. The skaters will be looking to set a pace early on in the race and try to hang on to those lap times throughout the rest of the laps, as Lindsay Kent hanging in the mid to high 32s right on pace with what she needs.
She'll set the fastest time as the first skater to go today, a third of the way through this race. Still 2 kilometers left.
It's a great opportunity for her to race on her own in the first pair. She doesn't have to think of any other times. Nothing but her and the ice.
All the attention of the fans who have made the trip out here focused on one skater. 1,400 meters gone. That lap time 33:41. Dipping a little bit into the 33s.
So the 3,000 meter, a 7.5 lap race. It's much shorter than the 5,000 meter. So skaters have a little bit more leeway to start fast and lose a little bit of time by the end of the race per lap. So Kent comes through just dipping into the 34s. It looks like she really went for it at the start of this race, and let's see if she can hang on.
The ladies will do their own 5,000 meters on January 9th, so Tuesday. Today it's their 3,000.
So Lindsay Kent, young skater here coming around. She will have 2 laps remaining when she crosses the line. Notice she's starting to swing an arm. Often skaters will swing an arm in the last lap or 2 of the race to try and keep those legs driving forwards.
2 laps to go for Kent into the 35s, into her lap times. She set a time at the trials when she finished 9th in this distance in October of 4:22.81.
She's entering the corner here. When she comes around, she'll have 500 meters remaining.
See the expression on her face. She's feeling this one twice more on this final stretch. Gets the arm down, trying to drive herself forward up to the bell lap. That lap time clocks in 36:31. She's losing a little bit more time. Less than 400 meters to go, though.
Lindsay Kent will come around, change lanes for the last time. She's doing a good job of keeping those strides long. You can definitely see the fatigue starting to set in with 1 corner remaining.
Rounding the final turn, Lindsay Kent, hand on her thigh, trying to keep it together. Less than 100 meters to go. Pain etched onto her face. Kent rousing a round of applause from the fans at the line. 4:23.17. Last lap time 37.77. So laps got sort of progressively slow for her as the race went on.
And 4:23.17 is the time to beat. After our first and only skater, Lindsay Kent.
Getting things sorted out for the second pair. Callie Christ will start this one. 26 years old, out of Regina, and she'll go up against Carrie Morrison, 26 years old as well.
Callie Christ, a middle distance specialist. 1,000 meter and 1,500 meter races are her jam, but she can pull off a good 3,000 meters. Carrie Morrison, also a mid-distance skater. So expect a tight race. Both skaters' personal bests within 0.3 of a second.
So one spot is already secured for next month's Olympics in the women's 3,000 meters. That's Evgeny Blondet. She's pre-selected. 2 other spots are available, but a number of criteria have to be satisfied. So just one secured for now, and other skaters are trying to chase after those as well.
Absolutely. The skaters must reach the Special Olympic qualifying standard time of 4:03.48. That is the top 16 time on the world circuit or the ISU rankings in the past year. 4:03.48. Over the 3,000 meter, that is an average of 31.9 seconds a lap.
Christ goes through the first 200 meters, 20.84, 21.43 for Carrie Morrison.
So skaters who are coming up in the following pairs who have reached this qualifying standard are Evgeny Blondet, who is pre-qualified for a team spot. That means that there are 2 spots remaining. Isabel Weidman, Josie Morrison, and Victoria Spence have all met that standard.
Christ competed in the 1,000 and the 1,500 at the Sochi Olympics. 21st in the 1,000. She finished 16th in the 1,500, but there was a doper ahead of her, so moved up to 15th. Carrie Morrison recently switched over to the long track discipline in the 2015-16 season. She's competed at 2 World University Games as well. Christ with the lead coming up to 1,000 meters. That lap time 31.82, 33.03 for Carrie Morrison.
So Callie Christ on a great race here. She has a lead on Lindsay Kent through this portion of the race. Don't forget, Lindsay Kent slowed down a lot in the latter portion of her 3,000 meter event. See if Callie Christ can avoid that fate.
Christ put a 4:10.86 time in the fall trials, good enough for 6th.
Christ has been battling hip issues, missing a lot of races in the last 2 seasons. She keeps her lap times down, 32.08. Morrison trying to keep pace, 33.3.
2 different styles there. Christ keeping her arms, both arms on the back. One arm drops for Carrie Morrison until they round the corner there. Christ has the little band on her back. Is that to keep the hands in place there?
Some skaters have a hard time keeping their left hand on their back throughout the straightaway. Tends to jump around a lot, so sometimes skaters will attach a shoestring to their waist and stick their thumb in it.
Christ still comfortably in the lead. Almost 5 seconds up on the time set by Kent, coming up to 2 laps to go.
Carrie Morrison is turning it on. She dropped her lap times into the 32s on that last one.
Is it a case of too little too late? She has a long stretch to make up. You mentioned not a lot of time to sort of work your way into this race in the 3,000, not like the 5.
3,000 meter, much shorter, 7.5 laps.
Both
Morrison
skaters
has
same time that last lap.
So Morrison has 2 laps to catch up. Callie Christ still looking strong as they switch lanes on that backstretch. Christ has 7 seconds on Lindsay Kent with 1 lap remaining.
Christ coming up to the bell. Morrison trying to chase her down after getting into a bit of an early hole. 34.11 that last lap for Christ. 33.2 for Morrison, so that's taking out almost a whole second in 1 lap. Lots to cover, though, in the final 400 meters. Christ dropping both arms, just trying to get to the finish line.
Christ is right on pace with her previous personal best. 4:10.86 is the time to beat. If she can keep this next lap in the 34s, she has a chance. Morrison coming strong on the inner lane. It's a strong finish from Carrie Morrison, but it won't be enough, as Callie Christ will finish up with a final time of 4:11.35. Morrison, 4:12.55.
Last lap there, 1.8 seconds the difference, as Carrie Morrison really did close things up there, Leo. You know, if you're Christ, you look at that last lap and there's a lot of drop time there.
Absolutely. I bet she probably wishes she could have those last 2 laps back. She lost about 3 or 4 seconds there.
You mentioned, though, injuries. It's always tough to come back and do a distance event, as we see there the top 3 after 2 pairs. Christ is the fastest skater, 4:11.35.
It was a great race for her, very close to her personal best, under half a second off. And on such an important day, Canadian Championships, that's exactly the kind of performance you'd expect. So Christ, mid-distance specialist, doing well.
Pair 3 coming up. Victoria Spence, 25 years old. Abigail McCluskey, 21 years old, out of Calgary. Both were 7th and 8th at the fall selection trials, paired up here.
Victoria Spence, the eldest sibling in a speed skating family.
We saw one of the Spences earlier today.
Absolutely. Her younger sister, Josie Morrison, will be racing in the final pair coming up in just a few minutes.
Spence's out of Kamloops, British Columbia. Although Victoria, born in Edmonton first. Spence with the fastest time, 4:11 flat, set it in November of 2016. McCluskey 4:10.06, set a couple months ago, September, here in Calgary as well. Close off the start, about a half-second difference between the two of them.
So McCluskey and Spence have similar personal bests, just over 4:10.
And it's McCluskey out to an early advantage. Puts a half second on Spence in that last lap as they make the exchange. As Leo likes to say, McCluskey going over the top around Spence and into that inner lane. McCluskey's off to a stormer right now, 17 hundredths back of Christ at that point. But as we saw, Christ faded a little bit near the end, and McCluskey was key for her. Leo, I'm guessing, is keep it consistent like this. She's seen people fade so far today.
Absolutely. And she's keeping those lap times down right now, but the challenge always is those last few laps, particularly if the ice happens to be a little bit slower. Skaters will sometimes take it out fast, aiming for an ambitious time. And if they're not careful, it might come back and bite them at the end of the race. See if McCluskey can avoid that fate.
McCluskey, who's skated at the World Juniors before in China a couple years ago.
These skaters chasing the selection qualifying time of 4:03.48. Don't forget, Canada has 3 spots in this distance. Evanie Blondin is already pre-qualified for one of those, so she will be in Pyeongchang. But 2 spots up for grabs. Skaters must achieve that 4:03.48 time, though. So far, only 2 have, Blondin and Isabelle Weidman.
McCluskey seeping a little bit of time away. Spence coming into her own a little bit. Pulled it back for the second lap in a row. 32.91, 32.82 for Spence as the gap closes up. Looks similar to the last race where it sort of closed up at the end.
So McCluskey still hanging on to her lead, but Spence closing the gap as they will come around with 2 laps remaining. Spence has her pair in her sights now. She comes down that stretch. McCluskey fading a little bit, 34.1. She dropped 2 seconds in that last lap.
Big gap there. You try to pull it back, Leo. 2 laps to go. What adjustments can she make with 2 laps to go? The lead is fading. Spence is looking comfortable and getting a draft there.
The only thing she can do here is try to stay low and stay strong.
You see the burn on her face.
Absolutely.
Coming up to the bell, McCluskey hanging on for dear life. She'll get one more time on the inner lane and then try to hold off Spence coming down the stretch.
And Spence, as she comes around this outer corner, will have McCluskey in her sights. Big target on her back as they cross over on the back stretch.
Let's see what Spence can do. Get a little bit of draft down the back stretch. Chase her down a little bit. Looks like Spence is making a move up the inside. Has closed that gap, and now she's got that inner lane to her advantage. It looks like Spence could pull away here and take the pair. Spence inside 100 meters, started slow, finished strong. Wins the pair here. Good race for her as she gains speed as the race went along. 4:12.19, second fastest time. 4:13.44. McCluskey good enough for 4th place.
So Callie Christ holds off all challengers, maintains her spot on the top of the leaderboard. 4:11.35. Victoria Spence with that strong finish made a play for a top spot, just falling short.
Pair 4 of 5. Up now is the aforementioned Evanie Blondin. She already knows where she's going to be in February. Now it's just a matter of finding out to see who, if anyone, will join her. She's Isabelle Weidman is in the other lane. She's on the inner. She won the fall trials here with Blondin coming in second.
That's right. Pair of elite, internationally qualified athletes in this pair. Evanie Blondin, veteran of the world circuit. Isabelle Weidman in the last 2 years having a couple breakout seasons. She has had some very good results.
Weidman 9th on the World Cup in this distance in Heerenveen last year, and then 7th, and in Calgary, 9th in Calgary as well, and 7th in Salt Lake City. Blondet finished 24th in Sochi in the distance 4 years ago.
So these two skaters, the only two female athletes racing this 3,000 meter race who have the required qualifying standard of 4:03:48. So these two skaters will duke it out. Blondet is pre-qualified in this distance to make the 2018 Canadian team, and she's getting a big draft on the taller Isabel Weidman on that backstretch. Smart move from Blondet.
As they come up to 600 meters, it's Blondet with the early lead. She came 4th in the single distances, World Single Distance Championships in Korea last year. Made the switch from short track at the age of 20. 4 years later, she was at an Olympics, and now she's going for number 2. Blondet out of Ottawa. Weidman also out of Ottawa. See two different, completely different styles here. Leo, the taller Weidman and the shorter Blondet. What's advantageous in a distance like this?
In speed skating, you see athletes of all different sizes. It's actually one of the beautiful things about this sport is that skaters with all different types of body shapes and sizes can post very good results. Typically, long-distance skaters tend to be a little bit taller.
I'll never forget the 98 Olympics where there's big, tall Jeremy Wotherspoon going up against Hiroyasu Shimizu, and there might have been 2 feet on them, and Shimizu, the shorter one, came away as the winner on that day.
Well, exactly. There's a trade-off there. The taller you are, the longer your stride length, but the shorter you are, the less air resistance is in your way as you skate.
Blondet still in the 31s, Weidman down into the 32s, both ahead of the fastest time set by Callie Christ. Blondet has a bit of a lead here, just over a second ahead of Weidman.
So Weidman got the better of Yvonne Blondet at the Fall World Cup selections just a few months ago. So Blondet is looking for revenge here, and she's leading her pair still.
Blondet 31.88, Weidman 31.81, so closing the gap a little bit. And using that inner lane, it's going to be Weidman with a little bit of a lead, and Blondet once again getting that draft, Leo.
So smart from Yvonne Blondet. It's almost as if she's planned her race in order to get those drafts. That's 200 meters now where she has not had to push as hard throughout this race. That can have a huge impact by the end.
Weidman took this at the fall trials. Blondet wants to get it when it matters with a national championship on the line. 31.98 was Weidman's lap. Blondet 32.17.
This is still a close race. If you look at those lap times, Isabel Weidman gained a little bit of time on that last lap. Let's see if she can do it again. Blondet, though, she's a fighter. Does she have an answer? As Weidman will come out of this inner, she's closing the gap.
Closing it, less than 500 meters to go. Now there's the bell. 1 lap remaining, 32.31, 32.23. So Weidman inches that little bit closer. Both of them are ahead of Callie Christ's time. And now it's just a drag race between the two of them, it seems, with first place on the line. Again, Blondet and Leo. Look at that draft.
Amazing. World-class performance here from Yvonne Blondet. Isabel Weidman also on a great race as they come down to the final stretch.
Looks like that little draft might have paid dividends coming down the stretch. Blondet coming to the line, fastest time on her mind. There it is, 4:04:31, 4:05:01 for Weidman. Those are the 2 fastest times, and they were close up until, looks like that little draft might have helped her down the stretch.
Absolutely. Blondet got Weidman in the end by less than a second. Those 300 meter stretches where Yvonne Blondet got a big draft, they probably made the difference for her. So Blondet showing her experience in setting up those laps.
So Blondet knows she'll be on the podium at the end of the day today. One more pair to go. Coming up, just about ready to go, Brianne Tutt, 25 years old, out of Airdrie, Alberta, coming up against Josie Morrison. Leo mentioned her earlier. She's 23, out of Kamloops. She's a Spence by name and a Morrison now by marriage.
As the crowd cheers on Evanie Blondet with that great time to beat, 4:04:31.
Tutt at the fall trials was third with a 4:08:42 as a personal best for her at the time. And Morrison was fourth with 4:08:53. So this could be another barnstormer down to the finish between two evenly matched skaters. Tutt making the Sochi Olympics in 2014 after coming back from a pretty serious injury. Now looking for another good finish at a national championships.
Expect these two skaters to really go for it in this race. They need a time of 4:03:48 in order to qualify for the 2018 team, or in order to be eligible for the team. Neither of them have that qualifying standard this year. They require lap times of 31.9 seconds per lap. And Tutt taking the lead early, 6 laps remaining.
31.15 on that lap time, Leo. 31.88. After 600 meters in the 31s, are they going to come into this race a little bit the more we progress?
I think so. Josie Morrison taking it a little conservative in that first lap.
She is still faster than Blondet, who picked up steam as she went along. Morrison about 3/4 of a second behind the time set by Blondet.
So Brianne Tutt, 31.4. She is still on pace. We've seen the last few laps from every skater in this 3,000 meter event slow down, so we'll see if Brianne Tutt can keep her lap times fast. She'll need to if she wants to skate that qualifying standard in order to have a chance at qualifying for the 2018
Smooth, long strides
team.
from Tutt. She comes 1,400 meters. That lap time, 31.63, 9/10 of a second up on the time set by Blondet at this stage. Blondet sitting in the hot seat in first place, watching as a bit of a challenge is being put to her time.
Brianne Tutt really going for it. She's chasing that gold medal here at the Canadian Single Distance Championships. That time to beat was set by Evanie Blondet. And Tutt now just under a second faster through 1,800 meters. She has 3 to go.
Now you mentioned the importance of these last couple laps, Leo. Is it hard to not get carried away, get excited knowing you're on a great time and maybe burn a few little matches too early?
This is that mental game these athletes play. These last few laps, if they start thinking about the finish line and stop thinking about their legs and their technique, it could cost them. As Brianne Tutt dropping an arm on the straightaway, trying to keep it going. And her lead over Blondet has dropped now to 0.2 of a second. Maybe she's thinking about that finish line too
2 laps
much.
to go. Morrison now almost an identical lap time. That's a big drop off in Tutt's time. Just a 2/10 of a second advantage over Blondet. The grimace on her face. She's feeling it coming up to get the bell.
Tutt needs to bring this lap down. She's giving it all she has.
There is the bell. 2 turns to go, 1 lap to go. Drops behind by a second on Blondet. 33.66 that last lap. Tutt in the lead for so long, now seeing it drift past her. Blondet waiting at the finish line, looking up at the clock.
Tutt right now hanging on to 3rd place. Blondet and Weidman ahead of her. See if she can hang on to that bronze medal as she comes around her final corner.
Final stretch for Brianne Tutt. One arm going, drops the second arm, charging to the line, trying to hang on to a podium spot. Will she get there? Brianne Tutt hangs on to 3rd. 4:07.52. Josie Morrison 4:11.38 for 5th place. So Tutt in the lead for so long manages to hang on to a bronze medal position here, Leo. He's almost drifted away from her, but credit to her, you'd have to say, for just hanging in.
It was a valiant race from Brienne Tutt. She knew the time she had to beat, and she left nothing out there. She started on the right pace and just couldn't hang on.
There is the final standings, the top three. Brienne Tutt, 3rd place, 4:07.52. Isabel Weidman, 4:05.01. Evany Blondet in 1st place, 4:04.31. She is the 2018 Canadian National Champion in the women's 3,000 meters.
So this is the selection competition for the 2018 Canadian team. We will not have any official team spots, as there are many amazing Canadian athletes, but only 10 athletes get to go to the games, and so trying to pick 10 athletes over 7 events is quite the challenge.
Including the team pursuit.
Including the team pursuit, including the Mass Start event, which is a new event coming up here in 2018.
You'll see, though, I imagine some skaters, Blondet has a good chance of being in a few events. And
Blondet, in fact, is pre-qualified, so Blondet will be there. And Isabel Weidman setting herself up well with a good opportunity here. And so stay tuned for that team announcement that will be on Wednesday night here in Calgary. And stay tuned to the webcast at 7:15 Mountain Time for the medal ceremony for the ladies 3,000 meter Canadian single distance championships. Should we stay here for the medal ceremony? Or?
Well, I'm going to change something anyways, so let's see how that works.
Oh, if you can pick up the feed down
Yeah, I
here,
got to steal his cam. Stick this out the window. See whether that does it.
So are we not doing this?
Yeah, we are. Sorry, I didn't say that. I didn't say unfortunately yet. They did let everyone know. So what I'm doing I know what caused that. So when CBC wanted to do a test, our camera was so in order to get audio, we grabbed those old files, right? Yeah. And it was looping. So it was rendering that file while it was rendering this also. So it cut it in. Forwards, so it's killing it. It was killing it because all the recordings are interlaced, so it takes extra work to de-interlace them all.
Yeah, then just one person decided.
It's not going to work. He needs an omnidirectional. Like that, those mics compared to this thing.
They're doing commentary. They've got that one.
Do you know what caused that problem with that? I've seen it every time. It looks like a bad one, but it doesn't look like it. Or do you not lean on this, right? Because it fell out. Is that an option? Like, is that possible? To make the speed not completely relaxing?
I did it for 11 minutes. But I don't know if it's that long.
It's not enough to put on. So they were planning to tent aluminum tenting or whatever.
So really good one, yeah.
Training will be a similar time slot.
He said there's a few things you never buy. Anything you're putting a percentage in, actually a small flathead screwdriver. I put it back away. I didn't take the battery out of it though. It might be, yeah, you see it? Count 8. Do we have 8 there?
At this time, we would like to welcome back the Calgary Korean Art Club here to do a special performance in recognition of the upcoming 2018 Olympic Winter Games taking place in Pyeongchang, South Korea.
Thank you. 역시. 하면 돼? that Cubits people. Do you guys want to just come over here? We'll get set up as soon as she comes up on Saturday. Perfect. Be careful when you step on it, okay? Like a midget this time. It's a little wobbly. So just be careful. You get the top one. Lizzie's still gonna cover it. She will do. Okay, maybe that's good coming now. I can be nervous. Hey? Was it last year that you guys gave us the men's ones? Oh, the incident part? Yeah. Can't remember. It wasn't me. Yeah, this is kind of sad to be with. Well, let's see. Yeah, 3,000 views. Oh. Is it still on TV? Okay, there you go. It's not for like nothing. So did you see how I did like a little interview with Ted after? No. Okay. So I wasn't paying attention. It's fine. So we're gonna do like a quick live interview. Okay. Right after the podium. Okay. So everyone can hear your answers. There's someone here. Okay. But it's on the webcast. It's on TV. You guys just set up in front of me, please. You're here, and then just bow. And Benoit, you can come over here with me. Okay. I just move in a little bit right here. And then when they call, then you just go over to that side. Okay. You're on the floor. I'm announcing you so you go a little bit.
At this time, we would like to welcome Benoit Lamarche, a long-distance and an 88 here at the Olympic Oval. He will present the podium for the 2018 long track team selections and the ladies 3,000-meter Canadian single distance championships. And we'll start with the bronze medal with a time of 4:07:52, Brianne Tuck.
It was her microphone that she was holding down. Because now that she's talking it, too bad.
Winning the silver medal was a time of 4:05:01, Isabel Weideman. And winning the gold medal with a time of 4:04:31, Yvonne Laudet.
She's like, don't come up on this one, let's go down to the floor.
Congratulations, félicitations. And now I will be conducting an interview with Yvonne Laudet. First off, are you okay? So today you were pre-qualified for this race. How are you feeling leading up to it?
Felt a little strange, to be honest. Like I don't know, when it comes to racing and Congratulations, Amy.